Hello and welcome to this week's training. It is February 20th, 2021, and let's get started today. We're going to cover a lot of topics that are going to be very valuable, especially for new people. And so let's jump over to our email and just kind of take a look at the topics that are going to be covered today, starting with the overview of the Agent Quick Launch menu. Which by now everybody should have access to. It's simply at agent.trupower.com. You can see the URL up there at the top of the screen. And from here, you can access just about everything that you need to access. The corporate website is the top button. The front of the pricing platform where we do all of our residential deals, and this is the part of the website that most of your client-facing side of the website where people that the general public are going to be able to access pricing for both residential and commercial, natural gas and electricity. Just below that is the back office for the backside where we conduct all of our commercial deals, which we'll be going through one of those here shortly. And of course, the area where you submit customers for a utility audit and some resources for the utility audit is also available on TruPowur.net. Now this resource page is a little bit different than what the customers might see if they went to TruPowur.net where they went to references. They're obviously not going to see any of the sales resources that are available for you there. Below that, we've got some other buttons that I think are going to be kind of useful for you as your activity increases. Starting with, if you have any connectivity issues, you can quickly check your internet speed by clicking the check your internet speed right here. One of the tools that I use a lot and I think is very valuable for a lot of people is being able to use the PDF tools. If a customer sends you several documents that are all bundled together and you need to break them apart, you can split those PDFs up, or if you need to take a couple of pages, merge them together to keep the natural gas bills together, the electric bills together, to make things a little bit easier. If a customer sends you a copy of their utility bill, maybe they took a picture of it with their phone, it's a good idea to go over here and convert that JPEG to a PDF just so that we have a PDF format of that document, which makes things a little bit easier. And then, of course, past Zoom trainings, you'll be able to access this training after it's done right here from past Zoom trainings. And then, of course, the customer appreciation page, which has a lot of valuable promotions that you can use in your marketing campaigns. And then last but not least, the TruPowur Zoom team meeting, which is probably what you use to get here today. So let's start by getting into looking at the TruPowur Dropbox for all of the agents. And so when you look at when you get into your Dropbox, you log in, you should have a link that just takes you directly into that Dropbox. In that Dropbox, you're going to have several folders, which is going to cover different topics, anywhere from the utility audit, and anybody that you submit for audit will automatically be given a promotional gift as a way of saying thank you, and that'll have your name and information on it so that you can email it to the customer. Support will send you an email letting you know that that gift has of thank you has been added into your gifts Dropbox, so you can access it there and email it to the customer. The area where you can access your leads. So as additional leads are added to your Dropbox, you'll find them there. Additional sales information, which is really kind of a good thing to take some time and go through all of these different folders and have a fairly good understanding of all of the things that are available. And in the sales, there's a lot of good information there. And then, of course, the solar program, which has a lot of information all the way from all of the personalized PDFs that'll have your name and information on it to um, some presentations if you're wanting to do a Zoom call with a customer and do a presentation. There's some presentations, some sales information, some sample bills, some service area maps, and then of course a video that's about a 1-minute video that is good for explaining how the solar program works. And then last but not least, being able to go through the welcome packet here and the step-by-step instructions of what should you start to do first, and kind of walk you through that process. So that's just a brief overview of the TruPowur Dropbox. The next thing that we really want to cover is the marketing strategy. So when we're talking to a customer, we obviously want to go into our Dropbox. We're going to pull up our leads. And from here, you can simply copy a phone number by hitting Control-C. And then when you have your Grasshopper, you can just Control-V and that'll paste that right in there, and you can hit the green button to dial that. So it's very easy to go back and forth to make those calls to your customers. And in here, you're going to have the name of the business, the executive that you probably are going to be asking for, their phone number, a place for you to put your notes, their address, as well as some information on their utility usage. So this is going to show you an estimated amount of how much they spend on their utilities. So if you have a customer like this one right here, they use a little bit less than $2,000, where you may have some in here that are 10,000 to 25,000. You may have 50,000 to 100,000, or 100,000 and more. So you can kind of follow that under the utilities and expenses. And of course, since this is an Excel spreadsheet, you can sort these based on those columns. And if they do have a website, then you can access that for additional information as well. So once we've made contact with that customer and we are going to send them an email to request a utility audit, in your onboarding emails number 5 of 12, at the very bottom, you will see that there is an email template, which is real easy to set up by just simply copying the subject line, getting an email, putting that subject line in there, and then of course the bottom here, you can take and paste that into here, make some adjustments to kind of clean that up a little bit. And then all you need to do is hit File, Save as Template. And when you do that, it is going to put it right over here where you can just, now you've got your template set, you can take and double click that, put in the customer's name and email address. Be sure that you take this out and put the customer's name or business name in there. And then of course the customer's name in here before you hit send. So you've got all of the information that is needed to send them a bill request. When that customer replies back with that utility bill, we are going to want to go over to our quick launch menu and click on Submit for Audit, which is going to take you to this page. Once the page loads, you're going to want to put in your name, your TruPowur email address, so support knows who is actually submitting the information, and then a little bit about the customer. So you're going to want to put in the contact the decision maker, the individual who is in charge of controlling cost for that business. You're going to want to put in their first and last name, their title, their email address, their phone number, along with the business name, the address for the business, and then of course, what type of business is this? So from the drop down here, you have just about every topic you can imagine, but if it's not in there, you can certainly click other and then add that type of business in there as well. Also, you want to put in here some information about the company, a description, or any special notes as to what that company does, just so that we have a good idea going into it. Something that if it tells you that they are a security company or they're a manufacturer of a widget, we certainly want to know that. And then ultimately, we want to select the cost center. More than likely, your first one is going to be the electric bill. So you'll select that cost center and then attach a copy of the bill by clicking here or dragging and dropping it, and then submit that bill for audit. Once that is done, then you're going to add or submit that information into the back of the pricing platform. And so first thing is we're going to have a copy of the bill. So if I have a copy of the bill, I always find that it is much easier to transpose some of this information into a notepad because this is a PDF of a bill. And so if I pull up a notepad, then it allows me to type and see the bill, to the left or to the right or above, and makes it a little easier so that I can transpose that information onto a notepad just real quick. And then it makes it a little bit easier when it comes time to actually entering that information into the back of the pricing platform. So if we go into the back office, you've got some things that you can do here. You can either do an instant quote, what is going to give you pricing before you get are able to actually enter the customer's information. I prefer to add the customer so that I'm dealing with real data. And so I have one that we can add in right now. And so what I want to do is go ahead and click Add New Customer. And since I've already put a lot of this information into a notepad for me, I can just simply copy and paste that in. I know that this customer is a very small customer. They're only, even though it's commercial, they're only using about half as much as this customer uses for the typical household. It's automatically selected what utility is, which is Encore, and we're going to go ahead and hit continue. Is this customer a current customer? That means, is it a current customer in our platform? Well, the answer to this one is no. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and start filling out the form here. So we're going to copy the name the same way it was on the bill, the name of the customer. We're going to drop that in there, and their position, along with the service address, the zip code already put in the state and zip. And down here, there's a place, if there's a billing address is different, then there's a place to put that. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and put in their phone number and the email address. So we're moving right along here. And we're going to hit next. And at this point, it's going to ask us to verify that the information is correct. You can see that what I entered, I spelled out the word drive. It's asking us to abbreviate it. This is the suggested address, and it's also added the zip +4. So we're going to go ahead and use that one. It's going to repopulate the form. So all we need to do is now go back down here and add the ESID number, which is right here. Depending on state to state, it may ask you. In Texas, it's going to ask you for an ESID number. Some states may ask you for an account number or a customer number, but you just pull that right off of the bill. Upload a copy of last month's bill. There it is. And hit review. And so this is going to give us a chance to just take a quick look and make sure that everything looks correct. Okay. And this would be a switch of service. It's not a move-in or a priority move-in. So we're going to go ahead and click submit. That is going to add that customer to your pipeline of customers. And so once you've uploaded all of that, it is going to bring you to this page, which is going to show you some of the information about their electricity account, the customer's information. Your information is going to be over here. The bill that we just uploaded is right here. If you see where it says this account usage data, well, on the electric bill, I put that their annual usage was 12,100 kWh annually because the bill said they used 1,006 kWh that month, but they had no record of the past 12 months. So the best thing I could do was to estimate by multiplying it by 12, which gave me 12,076, something like that. I rounded it up to 12,100, realizing we're in the winter. It's probably going to be higher than that due to the summer months. And so when we come down here and you see this where it says account usage data, hopefully by now it's already started to populate. No, hasn't done it yet. So some areas, especially on the weekend, may take a little bit longer, but once that information is populated, it's actually going to go out and pull the real data from that customer so that I know exactly how much they've used over the past 12 months. So when I verify that, I may want to wait till tomorrow or Monday and just double check that. And if I see that their actual annual usage was 15,000, then I'm going to want to come over here, edit this, and update that information just to make sure that the usage is absolutely correct. For one reason, the more usage we have, the more aggressive the suppliers are, and obviously the higher the usage, the greater the amount of the commission that is paid on that as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at today's rates. Now, I know after looking at this customer's bill that the bill says that they used 1,006 kWh at 0.0597. So that's 5.97 cents. But that only shows for the energy charge and does not include all in with the delivery charges. So if I take $196.93, which I have right here, and I divide it by the kWh, that tells me that the delivery is costing 19.57 cents. And so if I take what they're currently paying, which is 5.97, and add that to the 19.57, then my real true amount that I'm paying is going to be 25.54 cents. Let's go ahead and put some numbers into the system. So we're going to go ahead and start by putting in what they're showing, and that is 597. So we'll put that in there, 5.97, and that is going to update the platform. So I'm going to leave this at 5 mils on the commission. And if we look down here, we can see that we've got the 12, 24, and 48 month terms. And so there obviously is some savings available for them. Let's take a look at all of the available contracts. And let's also take a look at what is going to give us the greatest amount of savings. So it looks like Green Mountain at 4.762 on a 48-month term would save us about $600. So that's pretty decent considering this customer is paying a couple $100 a month. So that's almost like getting 2 or 3 free months a year out of that savings. So, and that's using the rate that the supplier is showing what they're paying for energy, not as an all-in. If I were to actually take that number and put the all-in number, which is 25.54, so let's take a look at that. So if we went to 25, you can see that the actual for a rate that is a fixed all in is going to provide significant amount of savings because the fixed all in is taking into account the delivery and the supplier charge on both sides. So we want to take and average those two together. So at this point, I see that a 60-month contract is going to provide an additional $12,000 worth of savings. And I want to be able to email a proposal to the customer. And so what we're going to want to do is click on this generate proposal. We're going to want to select fixed all in. And from here, let's come down here and select 60 month. Click on next and click on next. And let's take NG, Green Mountain, and Constellation. From here, we're going to hit next. And right now, it is taking all of the usage that I entered in and dividing it by 12. So it's putting it at 1,008 kWh per month. If we wait a day to where it actually pulls all of that data in, this will actually be automatically updated. But for this exercise, we're just going to go ahead and create and generate the proposal. Oops, let me go back up here to the top a little bit. Up here you can select and include a chart. You can include a chart anywhere from 1 to 5 years. I think 1 year is plenty. And if we come down, let's generate that proposal and take a look at it. Based on the information that we have in there, I think that when the usage actually populates, we're going to find that that's going to be much greater because the summer months are going to add to that. So let's go ahead and open this. All right, so here is the proposal that we're going to want to send to the customer. It's got the customer information, their usage, and what they're currently paying. And if we come down to page 2, it's going to show the 3 suppliers that we selected, being with NG being the best one on a fixed all-in at 5.443 is going to save the customer $2,300 in annual savings, which is about 78% annually. If you come down to here, when that usage gets populated, this is actually going to show what their bill would look like going into next year. We can't look at it because it hasn't populated the usage yet, but you can also see that the supply side, or I should say the cost of doing business is going to be pretty low, and you can see this spike absolutely went astronomical during this cold snap when electricity went out, pipes were frozen, a lot of issues. So I want to play a quick little video that we put together with the news station. And so give me just 1 second and I'll pull that up.
First came a winter blast, now comes a soaking of the money kind. We're going to hit on a few power-related financials. Let's start with this. You have a plan, but do you know what it is? When you signed up for electric service, you either got an indexed rate, a variable rate, or hopefully a fixed rate. Log on to your electricity account or find the paperwork so you can be sure. Here's why. There is a marketplace where electricity is bought and sold in bulk before it ever gets to most of us retail consumers. Now, with supply and demand so out of whack this week, the wholesale cost of electricity for 1 megawatt of power in Texas went from about $50 to $9,000. If you're on a fixed rate plan, what you pay per kilowatt hour isn't affected by that. If you're on an indexed or variable one, your rate can move with that market. Now, depending on how the plan is set up, some customers and even some electric companies are in for some sticker shock. One provider is even suggesting that our members switch to another provider with a fixed rate. Now, some have a much more difficult time changing their plans. Usually, we're talking about businesses that use a lot of power. It is a gamble with these flexible plans. They may have recently been paying about 3 or 4 pennies per kilowatt hour. Now it's closer to 2 dimes or more. If rates like that keep up, a CEO of a Dallas electric brokerage told me that some businesses could actually go out of business just because of their next electric bill.
I've seen in the past, speaking for larger commercial customers or even small business, they go from a $15,000 bill to a $200,000 bill, and the next thing you know, they're going out of business.
Finally, if you didn't lose electricity, congratulations. Except if you have a heat pump system and one of those fancier screens for a thermostat, you may have seen it read emergency heating recently. That is a secondary heater that kicks in automatically, usually when the temps outside drop below about 30 to 35 degrees, and they've been well below that lately. Emergency heat does make the house nice and toasty again, but it eats up electricity, up to 50% more than your heat pump does. So if you kept your thermostat higher than the mid or high 60s, let's say, and emergency heat was running a lot, be prepared for a potentially big spike in your next electric bill. For those who lost power, sorry, and it still might cost you. I saw people whose indoor temperatures dropped to 24 degrees. Yeah, they weren't paying for electricity while it was off, but try heating a home from 24 all the way back up to 68. And a rule of thumb, each degree you add makes your heating cost rise by about 3%. Multiply that by about 44 degrees, and you see that the money you saved while you were shivering in the dark has now been spent, and maybe then some. So be prepared for the possibility of a higher than usual bill, even if you were in the blackout for a long time.
So there you have it. So you can see that this spike is going to be not so good for those people who thought having a variable rate was a good idea. So that's why we always try to, as much as possible, get the customer on a fixed plan that hedges them for future disasters. It's going to take a lot of things into account. But you know, if you look at the market analytics, so you can see this huge spike. But if you look right now we're on February 20th. There we go. So you can see that right here in this little valley is where we are right now here in February, and we're expecting rates to start to increase as we go into March and throughout the rest of the year. And obviously anybody that we can renew their contracts in the month of February, it's evident that the rates are going to be better this month than they are anytime for the rest of the next year. So although you can see this huge spike, right now is the best time to renew those contracts or get them on a new fixed plan rather than a variable uh, plan as well. So following up with the market strategy, obviously when we create that report, when we create this report, I like to take the name of the company, whatever it is, and save this as whatever the name of the company is. Don't leave it as proposal. I think it's much better when you email a copy of that to the customer in the company name rather than just by default proposal 1, 2, 3, or 4. I think it lends better with that, personalization with each customer. So once you've done that, customer is typically going to respond back as, well, how do I get it implemented? Well, the uh, method of how is not so important as much as when do you want that savings to start. Well, the customer is going to say, well, I'd like that savings to start now. Whichever supplier it was that we had selected, you're going to want to take and click the sign up button. It's going to send the contract to the customer for an electronic signature. The customer will open it, type in their name, hit enter. It will come back, attach itself right back to the account that it came from. You will see it over here. You'll get a notification letting you know that it's come back. The back of the platform is going to be updated. And you're also going to see that down here in attachments, you're going to see that the contract has been signed and come back and attached itself there. And then in the platform, you're going to see the status of this customer. So you're going to see this go from request price to signed. And then once the supplier signs off on everything, then you'll see this go to completed. So every stage of the way, the platform is going to send you a notification. You'll get a duplicate copy of what the customer is actually going to see when you send it. You're also going to get a notification that's going to show you what that contract, when it's signed, you're going to get a notification letting you know that the customer has signed off on it. And then when the supplier is signed off on it, you'll get the last notification. And so then that becomes a commissionable event, and that kind of completes the deal. At that point, that's generally when I like to follow back up with the customer and let them know that there are some additional cost centers that can increase the amount of their refund. I'll give you a perfect example of a customer that the electric portion of the audit, their refund was right around $50,000. And so if that would have been your customer, then your bonus would have been 20%. That would be $10,000. But when we added all of the other cost centers, it increased the amount of the refund from $50,000 to a little over $800,000, which is obviously very significant for the customer. But it's also beneficial to you as well, because your bonus of 10,000 just increased to 160,000. Now, does that mean that they all are going to operate that way? Absolutely not. You may have some that there are no errors in the electric, but you may find that in the water, the waste removal, maybe their workers' comp, their 401k, or their telecom, some of the other cost centers are actually going to provide a lot more value in the form of a refund than maybe even in the electric. So it's always a good idea as the very last step to contact the customer and let them know that there are some additional cost centers that can increase the amount of the refund, and then getting a copy of those utility bills to add on with the audit at that time. And usually you're going to get a response back from the auditing team, usually within about 20 to 40 days when that audit is done, depending on the size of the customer, the state, and the complexity of the total audit. So it's pretty simple. So we're going to start by opening with the utility audit, getting the electric bill. Then we're going to upload it to the auditor so they can get started. Then we're going to generate a proposal to provide additional savings on their electric account. And then once that's signed off by the supplier, then we want to go back to the customer and add the other cost centers. If you try and throw the kitchen sink at the customer on the initial call, it's a little bit too much information. They get information overload, and usually the customer's response is going to be, well, just send me some information. That's typically going to be your clue that you talk too much. So we want to keep it very simple, straightforward. Start with the electric, then do the additional savings in the electric account, and then do the other cost centers on the audit as well. So all right, so we've covered the marketing strategy. We've actually covered the utility audit platform and how to upload bills for the different cost centers. We did cover the pricing platform, at least on the backside of it. If we were to look at doing any kind of residential deal, going through the front of the platform, it's very simple. It's almost impossible to mess this up. And you just start by putting in the zip code of that customer and click Get Rates. It is going to pull up all of the rates for that particular area. If you know how much the customer is currently paying, you can put that in there and hit requote. That will activate the savings column so that you can provide the customer with the estimated amount of savings based on that information. So if this particular customer was at 11 cents, then obviously we could provide this customer a much better rate at 5.8, which would save them about $83 a month. And you would just simply click sign up. It is going to take you through that same process where you're going to put in their name, the service address, their phone number, email address, and is it a house or an apartment. Once you hit next, it's going to go to the next page, just like we did earlier with the commercial, where it's going to verify the address. And once you select that, then it's going to allow you to go ahead and submit to complete the deal. Once you do that, since you're entering the information for the residential customer, it is going to send an email to the customer that they're required to click a link in the email to verify the order, just to keep everything above board. So that way we don't get agents that decide they want to just get the phone book and start adding people in there without their permission. So residential deals don't pay quite as much as commercial deals, obviously, but they generally are a little easier. They're a one-call close. Currently, we do not provide any utility audit measures for residential customers. However, we are working on a program where we will be able to do that, and we'll advise everybody when that part of the platform becomes available. I think that's going to be a huge benefit for a lot of residential customers, especially with a lot of the other cost centers that will be involved, such as not only their electricity, but their cable, their telecom, their basic, all of their utilities, whether they're using satellite or cell phone or any, and all of those different cost centers can increase the amount of their refund or their additional savings. So that is going to be kind of nice when we get that finished. So we entered in the basics for the residential deregulated order. We walked through the commercial, and we went through the video there that we did on the non-fixed rates in Texas, the effect of what that does. So that kind of finishes up my portion of today.